But did you and Pump ever have a falling out at some point in terms of you being his DJ and shit?
No, what happened? So this is what happens. Like, so I did the whole tour, and then I got back to my whole schedule of doing the hard stuff, and I just like one day. Okay, so one day I'm with Pump before the tour. This is why I got sober at that time, kind of sober, was because so we get off a plane from New York. He had did a Cardi B opening, they were on the same set, and that's when I first started around that time. It's 2017, so I'm starting to do these hard things. And I'm not too dependent, but I'm kind of dependent on it. And I had to keep sneaking it. I had a vape pen that was coils that I rigged, and I could smoke stuff that aren't meant to be smoked. So he wouldn't know. They just think I'm smoking a vape or something, but I'm getting lit.
Right.
And I would always have to sneak to bathrooms and just fucking move around. It was so much work. But I was in an airport going from New Jersey to San Francisco Rolling Loud. Mm-hmm. And I lost my wallet, which had some of my stuff in it, and I was the last of my stuff. So I'm getting on this. I'm stressed, and I ran around the airport looking for it. I had fell asleep in the airport, and the wallet was gone when I woke up. It's fucking weird. But so I'm running around this airport, and I'm on the plane sick. I'm starting to get super sick, and I'm crying low key, and I'm sitting by myself because all our seats are spaced apart. Uh-huh. And something in my head was dude, I just gotta tell him what's up, because I don't know how I'm gonna DJ today. Because it was the next day we had a DJ Rolling Loud. So I just pulled him aside as soon as I got off the plane and tell him dude, I do these drugs and I'm going through it right now. I'm sick. I lost my drug. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. And then they were oh man, they kind of were cool. His Pump was supporting. He hugged me. He's bro, you're gonna be good. And then I was I think I drank some lean that they had to just get rid of the weed. A lot though. And then I popped 5 Percocets and I still was sick.
Right.
I'm a real deal.
5 perks. So you were really
and a
bad.
line of lean. Dude, I go hard and then you won't even know.
Holy
it's
shit.
Sick. But so then I told him after this show, can I fly back home, get sober for tour, and then take a few days, and they got another DJ. And that's what I did. And as soon as that tour, I got off, got back to I was just I don't want to DJ no more. Anything that blocks me from getting that feeling, that's because it's my solution to every problem. It's not my problem. I don't have a problem with drugs.
Right.
I just have a problem with my life. Really.
Your drug addiction
and
is so bad.
The drug addiction is my solution to all this.
But that even a great opportunity, go on tour with one of the biggest artists right now and DJ for him, which is one of the best opportunities, seemed not that great because it took you away from your addiction.
Yeah, and I'm the type to build up all types of resentment type thing to him. And then you're blocking me from what I need to do. That I think is keeping me surviving life. It's taking away my stress. It just fucking feels good. Right. And I'm dude, I can't DJ for it. I got some business to handle by myself, It's really sick. It's now looking back on it, it's so terrible. I'm all these, there's young boy sessions I'd go to and I'm not fully there. I'm I'll pull up because I have to kind of do this, my job, and I'll quit. But I'm always in the bathroom and I'm running around, and then I'm okay, I got a jet. I go home. I could have been fully present there and soaking it. It's any person that was in my situation, they would have soaked up the moment, took an advantage of it, and I was just nah, fuck this. I got to do some other shit. That's when I know I'm I have a different, a disease.
Yeah.
With definitely. Anything, I could do it with women now. In sobriety, it's women, I could use a woman like a drug. Not fucking her. The fantasy of, I see a girl and I'm let's see if I can get the validation that she wants to fuck. If she just wants to fuck, I don't even want to fuck. I did it already.
I very much feel you're describing what I was going through for a long time when I was single too. Totally. Those things go hand in hand. You're looking to fill a hole in your personality, whether it's with drugs or pussy or whatever. You're just trying to fix yourself, you know?
Anything. And it's crazy, but it's cool to know because I have a lot of friends now, a whole fellowship of people that are like me, a bunch of drug addicts that are sober, and we all identify with each other, and we know it's I work a program, so it's cool to know what I have at least.
Right.
So now when I'm going into a situation, if I'm fighting with someone or argument or with my manager, and I know I'm disrespecting, I could recognize it's my problem, it's my addiction. Let me step back and call some guys what I should do about it. It's cool. I have a support network. Right. And I get to be aware of what am I thinking is. So I'm with a girl, I could honestly tell them now, hey, I'm not looking for something, but this is just fucking type thing. And be honest, and they don't want to. My spirituality is more important than her pussy,
Right. And it's crazy to think though.
They like that shit. You get that honest.
But you kind of came onto the scene around the time that a lot of the SoundCloud rappers came on the scene, and we've obviously seen how bad a lot of the results have been of people just sort of using drugs and not really taking precautions and shit. Like we lost Peep, you know, Pump I'm sure has been through a whole lot of shit. We lost Juice. There's all these rappers that we've lost over the past few years. Could you have like very easily seen yourself having been the same way? At a point it seemed like that was almost what you wanted.
Yeah, I think that I was so professional with it. I mean, I'm Googling things. Like, I have like real junkie friends that we're like professional with this. I think they were more taking it like, we take it alone in a fucking crack house room, you know?
Right, that's a different
level.
level.
No furniture, that's all, and we're on the fucking floor. We're real deals, right? They're like kind of partying with bitches and doing it socially. So they fuck around and take something that wasn't right. We know it's not right. Like, I'll buy the ones that aren't right because it hits stronger, and then I'm not gonna pop it because once you pop one, you can't unpop it. Now you're gonna pop OD. But if you smoke things, this sounds so terrible.
Well, if you smoke it, then you can spread it out throughout.
You can gauge it, and it doesn't hit you. So I'm looking at this like a just like when I started making beats. I'm gonna sell them on the. I'm looking at drugs the same way. I'm gonna do it this way and finagle it this way, and I'm gonna take it out of vape pen so Pump doesn't see. Like, it's sick, bro.
Right.
Like, but it's cool, like, because I don't think I don't think a lot of people in the industry have the same problem as me. I think they get fucked up.
But in a different way.
In a different way. They wake up the next morning and show up to the show or show up to the studio session. I don't show up.
Right.
That's when I'm like, okay, there's something different here.
Definitely. So, okay, you come home from that Pump tour and stuff. How long was it from that before you really decided that you'd hit rock bottom and you needed to get cleaner?
Oh, super long time. So I was 17, like 2017, 18. This all the way till 19. There's moments where I said I'm sober again. I'll do like a Genius interview and say I'm sober, but I'm not truly sober. I'm like trying to just do it. This time I was like, dude, I put the kid to the side. Like, this became first. Still to this day, recovery is first. The kid, music, everything falls after. But every day I wake up is like, I have to stay sober and I have to help another sober guy.
Right.
That's the goal every day. Whether I'm talking about this and another kid can relate to it, whatever it is, I'm speaking. And it's like, that comes first. Because if I don't put that first, my recovery, I don't have music. I don't have a kid.
Right. And that's the mentality you need to have in order to survive, right?
Oh, yeah. You got to put everything this. I said, dude, I mean, I hit such a bottom. Like, it was terrible. I mean, it was embarrassing terrible, right?
Wow.
So I was like, dude, my ego was just destroyed, and I'm glad I was. Because that's what would keep me, like, I remember I was in rehab, and I woke up one day, 14 days, clean kind of, and like, waking up and I'm like, hold on, I'm gonna rehab with a bunch of weirdos, right? I was in Florida and I'm like, and that's when my ego kicked in. I gotta get out of here. I'm a multi-platinum producer. What am I doing in here? And then some dude there working there, he's another sober guy. He's like, you ain't shit. You're in a rehab for a reason. You're not shit. If you were the shit, you wouldn't be in a rehab. Right. And I was like, oh shit, let me shut up. Like, and I'm so glad of that kind of stuff.
Because that's kind of part of the problem is that once you get the success and you're traveling and stuff, you start to think that like, oh, I deserve these drugs. Like, this is actually something that I've earned, and that people who are trying to take this away from me are actually doing me a disservice. And once you get used to that mentality, it's like infinitely harder to quit, right?
And then you also think the drugs is what making me.
Right.
Because I don't truthfully, I'm probably the same person kind of. I have a whole new outlook, right? But I always feel like sometimes I feel like my addiction is like a little voice in my head or like a fucking demon somewhere. They'll try to get me like, yeah, you're not the same, or coming to No Jumper, like just saying weird things like you don't have the same personality, you're lame. Like, it says things like you got to do drugs to be cool,
right?
Or to make music. You like, oh my God, I couldn't even make music the first few months of sobriety.
Really?
I didn't even know if I still to this day I'm trying to just like it again, right? Like, fully feel confident in myself. So it's like, and actually sit down and enjoy it, and it's crazy.
Yeah, because when you sit down and you pop a fucking pill or a bunch of pills in your case or whatever, and you start to like be creative or whatever, once you've removed that sort of layer of anxiety and doubt, then it becomes like you feel like you can just pour your soul out into the music and stuff, but in reality you're like creating an environment in which you really are not going to be able to be rooted in reality.
What's crazy is this year I've probably made more beats than I did last year and the year before. Just like, and like, what's funny is my head does that disease talk saying you suck, you don't, but my beats are for sure better now. Like, I'm so more aware of what to, like, it's insane. And I just don't sit at my computer. I think I thought I was making a lot of beats then, but really I was sitting at the computer getting fucked up and like tweaking with stuff and then deleting it and then looking up conspiracy videos. Like, that was, or porn, right? Like, it's sick. Like that's like a I was on some tweaker shit, but I thought I was cooking up some fire shit the whole time when I wasn't. Right. Now I can sit down, I make a fucking beat or make two, and I could check out, go do something normal shit, and then come back, make some more.
Right.
Like a normal human. Like
definitely.
But my head likes to tell me like, no, imagine if you just took maybe this time just drink some alcohol, you might go fucking crazy. That's my head, and I have to know. I know now that that's my head, and that's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. I know every time I've tried just drinking this or just smoking weed or anything. By the way, I hate weed.
Right.
But just doing this or that, like, it ends up leading to other shit every time.
Right. But did you have to go into rehab, or how did you actually break out of it?
I was so sick. I had to go. I had nowhere else to go.
You said you went to rehab, but then when you decided that you wanted to leave rehab, or you thought you were too good for it, did you actually leave, or did you stick it out that time?
So I stayed the whole 28 days, and like after I was like fucking girls in there. I was being bad in there.
How was that though?
Oh, it was tight.
Really?
It was. Oh, dude, you don't have a fucking phone, and then like I was low key. Dude, you have no phone, you have no stimulation. I also didn't jack off forever in there.
Oh, boy.
So finally when I fucked a girl, it felt like insane, and it was insane.
Right.
And then like after that though, I got caught with one girl kinda, and then like this guy pulled me to the side and he was like telling me to focus on my sobriety, and then like I did what they were doing in there, what I was hearing, like praying on your knees and doing all this corny shit. So I did that shit one night, and I read from this book, the book that we read from, right? And I started identifying with all these problems that it's saying, and I felt some weird like awakening, like some spiritual, it was fucking insane, right? And I'm like, God is real, like all this, like this is all making sense type shit. And I stayed up for like days kind of in there, like tweaking on the universe. Like it was crazy. And I kept telling girls, like, I didn't want to touch girls and that. I didn't even want to like touch myself, bro. I was like so on this God shit. Like it was crazy.
But I'm sure in the rehab, they really don't want people having sex with each other.
No, they don't want that.
But do you think that you having sex or having any kind of relationship with one of these girls, was that directly thwarting your recovery? That wasn't like really injuring your fucking attempt there?
Nah. I think it was just a spur of the moment thing, and we're all like, we all want some feel. Everybody in there is the same way as me. We want to feel something, so
exactly,
we're like, and you're just going like.
That's like the realest thing you could get in there.
Oh
if you're
yeah,
not
that's
able
a
to
fire.
do drugs,
That's the dope. Like that shit was tight.
Wow. Okay. And, that's great. Hey, let me ask you this: do you look back on any of your time spent with a lot of the artists and stuff, and like feel weird about it? Because obviously, a lot of these like sessions where you probably produced some of the biggest hits, you were on mind-bending amounts of drugs.
Loaded. Even Gucci Gang, I was like, that's when all the bad shit started.
Really?
Around then, yeah, I had to sneak around. And so then that's another thing. I was like, I made Gucci Gang off this shit, so I should just keep doing it, right? Like the logic is crazy. But no, I look back and I feel bad.
Right.
I feel like, dang, I didn't take their time serious. Like I wasted their time.
Really?
I could have gave them more. Like I was so selfish. Like I'm just coming here to use you guys real quick to get some money, you know, get a record, or when I like, so I could go buy more drugs.
Because it kind of forces you to become that person. Once you need drugs,
become like a scavenger.
You need drugs so much more than you need like friendship or musical success or making good music.
Couldn't survive. I thought I would die without it. I just thought I couldn't take life. I literally, it's insane. And like getting sober, like it's the greatest thing now. Like that's all I think about. It's like one thing I'm more proud of that than like Gucci, any record I've ever made.
Wow.
It's the hardest thing I ever did.
When you look at Gucci Gang, does it just feel like an accident that song ended up being so huge?
I didn't do any, like, obviously I made the beat, but it wasn't none of my work. It must have been some type of fucking entity or some blessing me.
Right.
I cannot even take credit. I was fried out of my mind. I was just tweaking with some sounds on the piano and, on the keyboard and all that shit. Like, it was all accidental.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So, like, now I had no plan back then. I was just wild. And then another thing, my image back then was like I was trying to be not the nerdy producer. I wanted to be the edgy guy, face tats, like fucking hoes, and doing drugs with the rappers.
Right.
And it was working because that would be my friend. They're like, oh, he's cool. We won't just make music, we'll actually all hang out.
Right.
And then I'd be like, yeah, let's make some music. But I just realized that I went harder than them secretly though. Like, they would be going hard. Like, I would be going hard more alone. Like when they would go to sleep or they would do normal, I would leave and go home and go harder.
But I know exactly what you're talking about because there's definitely a point early on with me coming out doing this where I was actually down to like pop Xans and smoke weed all night and drink lean with like other rappers.
Yeah, I've gotten lit, I think, with you.
Definitely. But it was very much a feeling of like, oh shit, like he's a cool ass podcaster because he's getting fucked up with us. And I started to like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not like the other podcasts or whatever. And then over time you start to realize like, oh, maybe this is like a weird thing to be appreciated for.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, definitely not in the long term.
Because I feel like we can still be cool. I'm for sure cool sober.
Yeah.
And I'm such like an honest dude now with people. Like,
you might be cool for a while when you're fucked up, but there's definitely a period coming like, where you're not going to be a cool person to be around if you're living like that. You know, I see it all the time.
It's weird now because music, it's like it's not even cool to be fucked up.
Yeah, it is a little different now. Where you were kind of falling in line because like think about it, when you're coming out, you have guys like Perp and Pump and 6ix9ine and everybody who's got crazy face tattoos, hair dye. They're fucked up. And that was like the cool thing to be at the time. And like, it is weird too when I actually go around rappers now and I remember, oh yeah, you guys all fucking take Percocets and shit because like they don't put it on social media as much.
Don't want to.
But then when you actually hang out with them, you remember like, oh yeah, you guys are definitely still getting fucked up, even though you don't advertise it. But at that time period, like 2017 and shit,
it was cool.
It was being advertised big time.
Start liners, and people be like, "You're a god."
Definitely, you'd be on like a meme page, like look how cool Bighead is and shit. For real,
I know, man. I fell right into the trap like a goofy.